Hello, everybody. This is Johan Mark. I'm here to do an interview with a enterprise client management MVP named Robert. Hey, Rob. How are you?
Hi, Johan. I'm very well, thank you.
That's good. So, you're back in England or you're away on business?
I'm actually away at the moment. I'm in Switzerland working for a university on a Config Manager 2012 R2 deployment. So yeah, I'm away from the family, away from the UK, staying in hotels, just getting some work done for this university.
So who exactly is Robert, and what's your job really? What's your role?
I could be satirical here and just ramble off, and people that know me know that that's the kind of thing I'd go for anyway. I'm a bit esoteric and I just like to have a laugh. But yeah, so who is Robert? Well, Robert is Robert Marshall. I've been using computers since I was knee-high to a grasshopper, around about 11 years of age. Introduced to the first set of 8-bit computers that arrived in the UK. That was the Spectrum, or the ZX81 from Sinclair. I've turned it into a career. It's a passion. It's a hobby. So it's very easy for me to work with computers because like I say, I've got a passion and I enjoy them. And I think I've been working in the industry for something like, I don't know, 17 years, 18 years now. Starting off as a desktop deployment engineer, like you do. And I know that you share some of those roots with me, Johan. And I moved on to become a server admin, and that naturally led into specialism. After about 4 or 5 years of being a full-on data center admin for a rather large pharmaceutical company, I decided I was getting bored of it all, and I wanted to specialize. And that, in a kind of roundabout way, is how I became a config manager professional. How I became an MVP, is that what the question was as well, Johan, or was it just who I am and where I'm going with this?
Feel free to tell us about that role as well. It's fine.
Okay, because it all dovetails together, obviously. So I started off with SMS 2003. I had seen and used, but not in the operational administrative sense, SMS 2.0 and all of its service packs. And I, as a data center admin performing data center shutdowns, we needed to know about the shutdown order for that product. It was very fickle. It could come up broken and take a lot of time to repair. So we had to be familiar with it, and I got a bit of an insight early on what that product was, what that piece was. It didn't tickle me, to be honest with you, and I think it was just the time of life. I was really involved with the data center stuff. There was a lot of engineering taking place, and that's where I had my head, and I hadn't run dry. I hadn't got bored of it. So I saw SMS and I thought, well, that's just a toy. It's like Robocopy and Notepad strapped together, just copying text files around and dropping applications on machines. Not the applications we think of today, but the very, very early ones, the XEs, install shield stuff. So when I decided to specialize, the company that I was working for wanted to roll SMS 2003 RTM out across Europe. It was quite a big endeavor. It was something like 40,000 seats. And we were cutting over to SMS 2003, which had the full AD integration. It was a different beast from the previous versions. And the skill level wasn't very high in it. Obviously, they had some global SMS guys. But for the European region, there was a little bit of a hole. And I remember the manager of the team that took on that responsibility. I was doing kung fu with him. He was actually my sifu. And we were training one day, and I was lamenting about my boredom being a data center guy. And he said to me, well, why don't you come over to my team? So this is a very long story, I'm sorry, but it kind of bottoms out in just a moment. He offered me the job, I took it, and then I became an SMS 2003 expert overnight, according to the managers who just wanted it done. I got through that task, that project. It took me about a year and a month, at the end of which the budget cut out, and I had an option: go back into the data center or go out into the big wide world and apply these wonderful skills. which I chose to do. I left that company and that region, and I went into London and became a fully fledged contractor going between companies. And eventually that led into me becoming an MVP, which, as you know, and the audience may not, is a private invite-only program from Microsoft that affords us with access to the product group and early builds and a lot more knowledge along the way.
Well, I remember one of the first time I bumped into you. You were heavily engaged in the community, especially in the user group in the UK. Can you tell us a little bit more about that user group thing of yours, and also what you see in general in the Microsoft community?
Sure. So I'm what's called a community leader. It's really a self-assigned title, to be honest with you. It simply means that I am one of a few that's running a particular user group. So I don't take the title too seriously, but it simply means that me as a person, I can pass on my knowledge and help to get others to share and build up a small kind of quorum or collective in the UK focused around System Center. And in my very early days, something like 7 years ago, I was approached by a Microsoft lady, Eileen Brown from the UK, who was a IT evangelist, and she was given the remit or scope to go out and try to help build up community, or to assist the building of community in the UK. Now that's a bit different than actually running community, because I really wouldn't want to be involved in something that's marketing driven or driven by Microsoft. But the allure of joining a group of people that were all brought into a meeting by this lady from Microsoft was very appealing. So one day I went to the Microsoft campus in England, in Reading, and I met several other engineers that had the same interest, and that was just to start up a community. And really none of us really had a big idea on where we were taking this. It really was about turning our knowledge around and putting it back into the community. And I think really there's two types of people. There's those that just can't stop themselves from sharing, and there's those that like to be around the people that share as well as sharing themselves. And I'm that former. I just like to spread it, apply all the knowledge I've got, share it with as many people as I can. So that's what motivated me to get into the community space. Before then, I really didn't know what it was. I didn't realize I was a community guy. And what that really means is you use the internet and you share your knowledge, or you participate in groups that lead to that ethos. So yeah, around the table we met, we all agreed that it was a wonderful idea, and we started up a user group, and we called it Windows Management User Group. And we've been around for 7 years. We've had some coming and going, and essentially we try to run yearly events. We try to run events across the year. It's a bit difficult because there's not many of us, and it does take a lot of time to organise these events. There's a lot of logistics involved, but we try to do virtual meetings and physical events around this group. So yeah, that's the whole user group piece. And to answer your second question about community, the community has changed a lot since I was young. When I first started, this community was really just a few forums, and I think the centerpiece for this really has to be Rod Trent's My IT Forum. Now that, alongside the webcasts from Wally Mead, kick-started my career in Config Manager, or SMS 2003 at the time, and introduced me to community through the forums, the distribution list, and the blogging, which was very new to me at that time. I didn't have my own blog back then. Today, the landscape is radically different. My IT Forum is still a centerpiece. They're still a valuable asset in the community. But since then, we've seen an immense amount of groups and communities starting up globally with their own forums, their own knowledge bases, and their own communities and events, both physical and virtual. So the space hasn't really been diluted. The value proposition of my IT forum is exactly the same as it was today, back then, as it is today. And the reason why I make this point is because it's not that there's only a few things that can be shared, and that it's all on my IT forum, and that if somebody else comes along, it's going to dilute. There's so much that people can share and participate in that there's room for other forums, other community websites, and user group websites. And I'm seeing, for example, in the United Kingdom, several user groups in the system center space springing up out of nowhere. To us, that's not competition. It would be impossible for us to see it that way. We're a not-for-profit, and we do this for fun. And the more people do in their own groups, the more people involved, there's more to go around for the community, and that's what it's really about. Is just trying to get stuff out there for the people. It sounds a bit altruistic. There is a bit of give and take. The give obviously is me giving away all my knowledge. The take for me really is the look on someone's face when they have epiphany, when they have a revelation, when something I've told them fits into place, and it helps them. When I've passed something on, that's worth more to me than gold or payment. And the more I can do that, the more happier I feel in myself. So I guess that's really the nuts and bolts of what motivates me as a community guy.
What do you see yourself doing in say 2-3 years time from now?
You know, that's a really hard question. It could be easy, and I could just easily say config manager. And the most likely outcome is that I will be a config manager 2014, 2015, or whatever release comes up, engineer or MVP. But really, if I could become a millionaire overnight, if I was to be given enough money to be able to stop the career and the worry about bills and everything that everybody has concerns of, I probably would move away from what I'm doing, and I would probably become a race driver. Now this sounds stupid, but especially at my age, I'm an old man. I'm 42 now.
That's not old.
Yeah, I know, but I meet so many youngsters now. It's a bit intimidating. I actually met a 52-year-old engineer today. He works at my client. He's one of the younglings. He looks young, but he's actually 52 and he's very capable. And it gave me a little bit of inspiration that I've still got another 10 years in this game. I don't think IT is as age restrictive as some other industries. I think we could probably go on, Johan, until we hit our 50s, 60s before we have to be farmed out. But there's always that concern.
Well, with any bit of a luck, we would have at least 30-40 years of work in us left, so we'll see.
We'll see. I'm not going to hold you to that, but I hope that's the way it works out. I really would like to become a race driver because a couple of years ago, a year and a half ago, a friend of mine invited me to a birthday go-karting day out, and that went wonderfully, and I actually started going go-karting on my own. When you do something on your own, you know that there's something to it, there's something that's pulling you in. Obviously, if you're tagging along with people, there's that kind of social motivation or that group thing. But when I start getting in my car, driving for an hour, going to a track in the freezing cold weather, paying a lot of money, and sitting in a screaming, smelly cart for half an hour, there's something happening there. And I realised that it was another passion, and that's race driving. And since then, I've actually started to... this is again silly. I drive a simulator called iRacing. I've got a very expensive steering wheel, pedals, and the game is not a game, it's called a simulator, and it's the closest thing you can get to driving in a car without the expense of track days and whatnot. And that's helping me to build up my driving skills, and I'm hoping to go to America, to go to a place called Lime Rock Park, and to get in a driving car called the Skip Barber Formula 2000, just to see whether or not I've got it. And like I say, if I could become a millionaire overnight, I'd be doing that now. And
So that's like a real deal racing car, right?
yeah, this is the real deal. I don't know if I'm physically capable of doing it because I'm getting on. There's a lot of physical duress. There's a lot of physical strain on the body for driving. But the things around me right now have all moved away. It's now config manager and driving.
That's cool. That's
So,
really
yeah.
cool.
That's kind of like my answer. And the funny thing is, if you would have asked me a year and a half ago, I would have had a different answer. So maybe in 2 years' time, it'll change again.
We'll see. We'll see. We will have to redo this interview then and verify.
We could probably do that every year. We could just refresh these.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, catch up.
So in all your so far quite long career in IT, what's the sort of oddest request you've ever been asked to do?
Do you know, I could have, this is difficult. Okay, I guess the oddest thing that I've been asked to do, not as a config manager admin, but as an IT guy overall, was when I was working for a pharmaceutical company, and they said to me that I would need to change an EEPROM, which is an electronically programmable read-only memory chip from very, very long time ago, and I'd have to swap that EEPROM chip out of some scientific instrumentation. That sounded very easy. I just get a pair of pliers, yank the EEPROM out and put the new one in. But the bizarrest of things was that it was a heavily secured environment. So I had to take off half my clothes, get into this biological suit. I had to go through several doors which were all hermetically sealed, and then I finally arrived into the area that I was allowed to work in. I was kept facing the machine because of all the intellectual property around me and whatnot, so I wasn't really allowed to see it. And I was then told, take that EEPROM out of that device and put the new one in. Now, I guess that's probably the strangest thing I've had happen to me.
Sounds very cool, though.
It was amazing because I was joined by a very good friend of mine at the time, another geek, very dark Jedi geeky type guy like me, I suppose, and we made a lot of fun out of it. I was saying instrument please, scalpel, like doctors talk to each other, and he was saying scalpel, and we had a good laugh at it. But yeah, I guess that's the funniest story off the top of my head that I can think of.
That's cool. So thinking a little bit into the future, what would be the sort of coolest, hottest, most interesting product in the Windows management space? I mean, that's the area where you work at the moment.
Now, the answer I'm going to have to say straight away is Configuration Manager. I am biased, but I will remove that bias and explain why I say that. It's the most complicated product from Microsoft. It has the most moving parts, and it's developing at an incredible rate right now. We do have some very interesting technology coming up from Microsoft, or in place right now. We have the Azure cloud, we have Office 365, and a host of other on-premise, off-premise type cloud technologies. But really, that doesn't interest me. That's not because it's not good or there's something wrong with it. As a very technical guy, it is not interesting me at the moment. The product that really interests me is Config Manager. Now, I've known for a very long time, through introspection and whatnot, that what motivates and drives me is huge complexity. I am essentially a puzzle solver. And I think you are as well, Johan, otherwise you wouldn't be doing what you're doing. Puzzles appeal to people like me and you. You may just see something in everyday life and it's a kind of puzzle, and you may just absent-mindedly solve it and then move on. That's that kind of mind. Now, for me to be interested in something, it has to challenge me, and I can never get on top of it. I can never know it all. I've realized that the moment I understand something well enough to apply it, and that it no longer challenges me, that I walk away from it immediately. It's a natural built-in mechanism I have. I just instantly become disinterested and start looking for other things. Now, I know that those signals have not arrived yet. I'm still avidly interested in Config Manager. It challenges me on a daily basis, not because things go wrong, but because there's so much to it. And every time I go to a client, there's something new that I'm learning about this product. Today I was taught something by a very, very junior engineer. Now that's revealing, because MVPs, hey, we should be at the top of our games, and some MVPs do profess to know absolutely everything, although I can't name a single one in the ECM space. We're all quite realistic about our skills and where we are. But yeah, we learn, we're still learning now. There is no point where we stop learning. And I'll iterate this again. This is my answer, config manager. The moment it stops challenging me, there will be something else.
I have a feeling if config manager is continuing to grow in the rate it has been growing in the last years, we will never be tired of it. We will always have new stuff to learn about it. So
I think even if Microsoft go towards this full cloud solution off-premise, there'll always be a piece there that's challenging in terms of config manager. Config manager is such a huge product. It really doesn't sit in the first several waves of migrations towards the cloud. So that a repositioning of this product isn't going to take place for some time. As you know, we do have elements of the cloud now in our product, which makes us a cloudy product. But 9/10 of our product's size or footprint is on-premise. It's just very difficult to move that off-premise right now without moving all of your infrastructure assets into the cloud. And a lot of companies are really not positioned to do that now or in the next few years. So I see longevity. I see a lot more challenging times with config manager. And as you said, because of the shape of the technologies that are developing now, and because config manager has been accelerating in terms of feature growth over the last couple of years, I think we're going to be with this product for many years to come.
So a lot of fun in the config manager space awaits you. That's awesome. Yeah,
definitely.
That's great.
I'll say something else here. We're looking at MDT as a separate product today, kind of, but we're looking at full integration into config manager tomorrow, the next releases. So the product is definitely becoming more complicated. Yes.
Yeah, it would be fun to see that happen. I would. Yeah, that would be great fun. Mm. Well, I think that's pretty much sums up the interview. Thank you so much, Rob, for taking your time out of your late schedule, as it is in Switzerland right now. But thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure, and I can get on to completing some of the chores that I've got from my client today. I've actually got direct access set up for my lab at home. So I have, as soon as I get Wi-Fi access on this laptop, I'm immediately on my lab at home, and I've got a couple of things I need to do there tonight. So awesome. That's what I'm going to do. I just want to say thank you very much for interviewing me, Johan. It was a pleasure talking to you, and I hope the listeners enjoy the interview.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.